full hall here. Thanks to all speakers, experts who is here and ready for discussion. Together with that, since we have a very dense schedule with our colleagues, a number of our speakers still coming to their workplaces at our round table. That's why I hope that everyone will be feeling comfortable. And since we have already started the discussion, I will open you a secret because we had a chance to exchange our opinions. Those who want to have informal conversation, I hope it will be. The discussion will be very interesting, and we will get the overview that would help us to find new drivers for fulfillment of experimental legal status. So what is legal status? Experimental legal status. A regime that allows unmanned aerial vehicles to be exploited without certificate and to be tested with different loads to show all the data. So it's a very important thing for the development of unmanned aviation that is of high priority today. Let me say a few words about the history, since these fantastic words of Makarevich, as you remember how it all started. So they're very close to the event today, and today I tried to catch my feelings. So what is more interesting in my memory? It's the way it all began, and it began not long ago, 1 year and a few months, when we were at the exhibition of St. Petersburg Gas Forum, and the head of our republic was passing by our exhibition stand, and he could see that bus 200 that you can see today in the Ministry of Industry. And he agreed to come and to listen about this product, and he spent around 30 or 40 minutes listening to us, and we just listed the number of functions, and he asked his colleagues to come, and he said, what do we need to make it fly? We answered that we need experimental legal regime. After 2 months in the same hall, Radi Faritich told us about it in the protocol event and to Serdyukov, and he supported the idea, and this is how the process started. And 1 year later we are in the same hall, but we have a result that this experimental legal regime practically implemented. And this is very important because such dynamic can be shown not by all the subjects of the Russian Federation. This is a very exclusive result in terms of speed. And I think it's one of the first advantages of this experimental legal regime that we're discussing today. This is number one. But the aim of this discussion is not to applaud and congratulate that the team worked excellently and that the experimental legal regime will be available next year. The task today is to determine why do we need this experimental legal regime, and the second, what is the difference of this regime from other experimental legal regimes in Russia. We have 5 legal regimes in Tomsk, Kamchatka, and some other regions. We also have experimental legal regime in St. Petersburg, in Moscow. We tried to discuss a number of experimental legal regimes in Arctic regions. So the next question to speakers is not only about the difference of Bashkir experimental legal regime, but just the feeling how many experimental legal regimes do we need, what loads they should carry. We also wanted to discuss with the speakers what are the interests of the market that can cover experimental legal regime. Who are the market participants? So it's the head of the Republic as the holder of information. So it's as well as the aircrafts that are flying on the territory of Republic. So it's business, large scale, medium scale, small scale business that need the information that the unmanned aviation can offer. I'm also interested in the opinion about the experimental legal regime and its content from our colleagues from Belarus, because we believe that Belarus is a bit ahead in the number of questions, and I'm very interested. I personally visited the enterprises in Belarus, and these miracles with agro-drone, I will say a few words, because this is the unit which is technically innovative, and it is new in terms of concept, because 15 minutes of flying was a deadline practically impossible to reach. But as far as I know, you have an order for 100 units of this flying unit. So it's a very incredible order in our country, because we don't have any state orders for unmanned flying vehicles, aerial vehicles. So this discussion, I believe, would be very useful for the speakers, for us, and will be very useful to see in what directions we are moving in the given experimental legal regime. We will coordinate in terms of cooperation within the framework of this regime and the laws that we have. We will highlight the possibilities, the exclusive possibilities that will be in Bashkortostan. I will not tell you, I will not give a hint about it, because I need to organize the discussion, and I don't need to, make you think the same way as I. So I suggest we begin our discussion. The first speaker, we have Marat Fattahov. So this is Director of the Center for Regional Economics at the Center for Strategic Research Foundation. And if Marat Rafalevich got connected, we will hear his point of view. What's about the connection, colleagues? Colleagues, good morning, Marat. We're glad to hear you. So it's been 1 year since our last meeting on the same field. We have a huge dynamics, huge changes. What I would like to speak about today, very briefly, I would like to say why we meet in Bashkortostan for such a discussion, and what are the directions of, what are the difference of Bashkir experimental legal regime from others, and I will answer your question, how many experimental legal regimes do we need, and what do we need, and should they cross somehow or not? So, why Bashkortostan? First of all, for sustainable development of this complex topic, innovative topic as unmanned aviation transport. So, number one is the very good technological development level. We know that there are a lot of modern enterprises in the Republic that are functioning like OMPO or Kumertau helicopter plant. There is a scientific research center, Eurasian Scientific Research Center. So, and one of the development is one of the directions of development is dedicated to technological development. And of course, there must be innovative infrastructure on the territory where the companies, the residents, can enter and implement their project. And I would like to highlight a very active position of the regional team, so that this territory near Ufa was given for the creation of unmanned aviation cluster. And together with that, for many years, Technological Aviation Technologies Park has been working in Ufa. And I believe that in the framework of the future cluster, this field will find the second life there, and the residents will be actively cooperating. The main thing, one of the key problems, issues that we face. We can say it according to our research for opinion polls. It's the human resources, and Bashkortostan is different from other territories. First of all, we have the Ufa Aviation Technological University that is in the process of unification with Bashkir State University. So it's the leading university. We all know it. More than 23,000 students studying there, and the level of qualification is very high, and everybody says about that. The fourth peculiarity is the key participants. It's the companies of aviation industry. We need to take it into consideration. They could invite the leading representatives of the industry to the region, and we all know these companies, Milikam and others. So it's very important to create such spots, such boiling spots of communication and synergy. And of course, the last milestone is the regulation issue and the experimental legal regime that is practically its last stage of creation. So it will unite all the elements around itself and will allow, not theoretically, but in practice, implement all the projects and commercialize them. On the 24th of November, we had a meeting on the platform of the Ministry of Economic Development of Russian Federation, where all federal bodies and regulators solved all the disagreements on experimental legal regime, and I hope we will go through Ministry of Justice till the new year, and people are waiting for us in the government, in the profile department. So we will go through the government and will issue this experimental legal regime. What is more important to highlight here, I believe that the whole work with improvement of this regime will only start, and as we can see on the example of other experimental legal regimes, the dynamics is not really high, and it's kind of a challenge for the Republican team, challenge for the participants of this regime, not to fail within the first few months, but to run very fast and to get all the necessary papers for the pilots and to move to the stage of piloting these technologies that we named. We considered many directions, but I would like to highlight two directions. So it's agriculture, and we will speak about the experience of using the unmanned vehicles, and of course transportation. And it's a very important direction as well. How many legal regimes, experimental legal regimes do we need? The world experience showed different approaches to this question. In China, for example, there was only one experimental zone. Last year they created the second experimental zone where they pilot these technologies. In the United States of America, there were 7 zones created initially, and in some of them, the directions of testing technologies was intercrossing, and I believe it's a good practice because one and the same technology can be tested in different. So innovation can be tested in different conditions, and in a good sense, it's a competitive medium, and the company chooses the platform which is more comfortable for them, which will allow to implement their commercial potential. That's why we believe that we should have several platforms like that, and the company must have the choice, both geographically. We know that it's a Far East and the central part of Russia. In Moscow, it's actively being discussed And they also plan to create the experimental legal regime to create a part of industrial park in Lybertsy. So we can see that the geography from the central Russia to the Far East is present. So I think the representatives of the industry will only benefit from that. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You even met the deadline. I know that there are a lot of external inclusions, so maybe we could answer the questions right now in order not to build up the connection once again. But still, being a moderator, I have one question. You know, Marat, I love when everything is economically profitable. So which priorities you see for the Bashkortostan to make them profitable right from the first day, not to lose money but also to earn it? How and what you can recommend to those who are present here? I think that we need to focus on two main directions. The first is the provision of the service for the companies which represent the oil and gas industry who are of interest in this technology. And the second is to use all the innovations in the sphere of agriculture, because Bashkortostan is an agricultural region. And within the frame of this concept, we discussed this topic with the representatives of the field, and they expressed their interest in those companies who can provide full range of service, so they could have commercial success. Thank you very much, Murat. Are there any other questions to our distinguished speaker? If there are no questions, we could say that you provided all information we need. Thank you very much, and we wish you to recover soon and go further in the topic of experimental legal regime. Further on, we needed to have the presentation of Rustem Ravilovich, but right now he is busy, so we have another speaker, Nikita Danilov, the representative of the company Flydrone. He's one of the founders of the company and also CEO. Good morning, dear colleagues. Can you hear me? Yes, we can hear you, and right now we can see you. Thank you. Answering your question, Vladimir, maybe it would be quite fast to answer. The task number one is to create more experimental legal regimes. We have a vast territory in our country and different temperature, different climate. That's why the more we'll do such testing zones for unmanned aircraft, that would be better. Different technologies, different clusters, so if we'll have an opportunity to test them in different conditions, that would be nice. We have the wheel of misfortune notion in the West, but I do believe that we do not need to be afraid of it. We should not be afraid of any failures just because we could have some technical issues, some non-implemented missions, but through practice we could reach the technological outbreak. That's why we need quite more testing zones, quite more testing technologies. What do I want to stress in Bashkortostan? We need the availability of usage the experimental legal regime in Bashkortostan. Previously, the effectiveness wasn't reached before, and right now, a lot of people say that they have just empty reports just because we have no customer. Right now, we plan to base our experimental legal regime in St. Petersburg, and we started from the customer. The city collected all the departments and committees, made the list of missions which would be paid. And it's not just flying, it's collection of data and analyzing of data, which is necessary also for the city administration. It's also about the business society, the city. Right now, we have these invoices, we have these applications. Right now, we are waiting the technological effectiveness of it. I believe that the team of Bashkortostan is hardworking and it's very comfortable to work with them. And if they know the powerful systems, the priority spheres of Bashkortostan, they could help us to show the effectiveness and reach the commercial orders. In other way, there is no reason in experimental legal regime. Everyone understands that the flight and the mission of unmanned vehicle is only 20% of the whole service. It's also database and data research and analysis. That's the thing which we need to show to the oil and gas industry and agricultural sector. Just because the overturn, the analysis of data is also quite crucial. Of course, we need more zones. And we hope that Bashkortostan would become a bright example not only for the application of unmanned vehicles, but also from the economic point of view. Thank you very much. As a speaker, I need to get you out of your comfort zone. Now, I am quite shocked. You didn't tell anything about your company, about Flight Drone, and about your duties. A lot of people do not understand your role in this sector. Of course, as the company Flight Drone, we are represented as the operator of one experimental legal regime zone, and we are working with air navigation and city authorities. We plan to help the enterprises of our customers to form the orders and to get the results and reach the transparency of the whole process. I can say that you're too shy to talk about it. I cannot understand the presentation of your company right now because it's the company which reduces the terms of agreement on flight in several times. So the whole procedure is based on the platform of Flight Drone. In order to reach the digital space without Flight Drone is quite impossible. That's why it's a significant representative of the sector, especially here in the Republic of Bashkortostan. Is that right? Yes. I would also say that on the territory of Ufa, we have already implemented the platform with the electronic cabinet. We plan to use it, and not only in the framework of the sector, but also within the work of authorities. So the process has some results, and we can test it right now, because everyone is interested in the future of the experiment, but to try it is more interesting. Are there any questions to the company of Flydrone while we are tuned? Can I also add, please, dear colleagues, right now a lot of subjects, a lot of entities try to close the sky space for unmanned vehicles. I know that that mass media inform us that we have this tendency, and using our digital platform is to make a trustful environment to understand whether it's our or foreign unmanned vehicle. To close the sky is to kill the business right at the beginning, because the market is not that big. Right now it's 13-14 billion rubles per year. If you close the sky space, the entities didn't reach kind of defense. If somebody flies illegal, they would continue doing it. And while you do this, we could create new business. If you close the sky space, it doesn't solve the problem, so you need to find trustful operators like ours through the digital platforms and to build up the monitoring system as we did in St. Petersburg. Thank you very much. I hope that would be one of the main things, so it should be caught by the further speakers. So what about the support of the unmanned aircrafts in the region? We're already solved. Thank you very much. Right now, we will give the floor to the next speaker. Mamotyka Alexei, the head of the marketing and sales department of the National Helicopter Center, named after Mil and Kamov. Thank you very much for such an opportunity to talk about the unmanned vehicles and their usage, which could be profitable. So while analyzing the markets on unmanned aircraft, we could say that the bulk of work is represented by monitoring. Previously, the market was connected with space shots and, of course, had an opportunity to go further and to develop further. Previously, pilot aviation could make more efficient flights, but right now it also gave the floor to the unmanned vehicles. I could say that monitoring could consolidate the cosmic, the space field altogether, and on the basis of the monitoring, you can consolidate this customers' invoice. And if we talk about other regions, among all the regions, we could say that right now the most popular is different types of shooting, different types of photographing, just because they give a great set of data, which go to the regional IT platform, on the basis of which you can make solutions and make decisions. So the main point is that the most profitable systems like hard unmanned vehicles, they could meet all the loads that they need by 2 or 3 target loads for a vehicle. It's one of the directions which we have already tested for 10 times. We also thought about civil tasks and efficiency of such decisions.
Цифровому макету, то
If we talk about the digital
развитие отрасли
map of the region, it's not only the driver of the region development, but also digitalization. And to try and consolidate the
в операторах
region
могли предоставлять данные в одну
for all of the customers to provide the data to one place
платформу,
and collect the data effectively and also interpret it and analyze it,
чтобы
and then
рос и дальше.
reach the increase of demand. So such organization could provide this increase.
В течение года не так
Analyzing this question, we had a meeting not long ago with the industrial sector of Bashkortostan. There were also representatives of the unmanned aviation market. They were talking about the training of staff, training of personnel for it.
кадров он сегодня проблемный.
The question of training has some problems right now, but we have solutions which we'll present a bit later. We'll have a special equipment to train them. The result of that meeting was that right now the demand is already fixed in the Republic of Bashkortostan, or is on its way to be fixed for different customers. Within one flight, they could cover several customers' applications in one.
Мог бы снимать
Right now, Bus 200 could
для разных объектов.
picture the region for different companies. You could see the model, a draft model on the slide. What I'd like to notice,
В том плане,
we have a great advantage here in the region because they have Komertau Aviation Institution, also aviation cluster, and smart city project. It's the key difference of the Republic of Bashkortostan, which would help us to not only to test aviation technologies, but also to place them and make them commercial. The list of our activities for a year and a half shows that the service should be provided, but also should be PR'd. Because right now we came that gas state corporation Rostec could also provide some help.
личная работа,
We need a synergy in the Republic of Bashkortostan and state corporations. And
первый этап до его изготовления собран. Программа
as for the training equipment, we have the software downloaded to it, and 17 specialists has already passed the training there. Its functional advantages are, first, modeling of the emergency states,
содержания годности,
conducting the analysis and monitoring,
данного рода услугам. Ну и, соответственно, мы в плотном диалоге с Росавиацией.
and having a detailed discussion with the Rosaviation. We are ready also to provide it for the Moscow Preparation Training Center. And of course, if the region would support this idea too, we are ready to provide it to the region and also to be the first company which will train specialists in this field. As a result, I would like to say that apart from the monitoring
большой рынок сегодня складывается. Это
market and also the unmanned vehicles
технических средств, программное обеспечение.
in our sector is represented right now here. We have some of the services which are already provided, and if we'll lead them to work for the organizations here, we'll have a consolidated effect, like using the unmanned techniques, some space techniques too, and unify all the technical equipment which would be used in the region. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I don't know how to destabilize you, but maybe I will ask a question about the plans, about your plans, and what do you see the next year in Bashkortostan? What will happen after the implementation of experimental legal regime? What should we do to start implementing this regime to make it breathe? Thank you for the question. Besides the fact that we are working on the training equipment and the question of training the personnel, next year in the Republic we have some tasks that we're working on that caught its life after St. Petersburg Forum in 2021, and the structure for demand for forestry and agriculture. There must be test flights, there must be target loads. Ideally, the representatives of establishments or representatives of agricultural cluster and forestry be there, and these flights are planned to be done in the first or second quarter of the next year, because we have 27 machines pending the production. So the project can start breathing. These things can be written down because everyone heard it. Yeah, I have a question concerning the training equipment. Is it universal or it's specific only for bus 200? And yeah, it was. It passed the first stage, with all the hardware and software was installed. It is. It's for now it is specific for bus 200, but in the possible order from other producers, we can consider it to be a universal training equipment, because on these training equipment we can model different profiles of flights with all the risks, all the emergency situations, everything in digital regime that will allow the pilots to work correctly later on. The question is a bit deeper than it may seem, because those who are engaged in production of these vehicles, not everyone has the potential to conduct training because they lack training equipment. And this question was posed by Chalik from the Ministry of Transport of Russian Federation regarding how many ground stations we will have, how many types we will have in general, and if we need to fly with the Russian post. So on the initial stage, this measure was, we had to do it because in the prospect, we can't have 10 producers, 10 training equipments and training ground stations and so on. So what you mentioned is the prospect of forming the market, and we hope to believe that the experimental legal regime in the Republic of Bashkortostan will pose the question on the standardization, unification of this, and we will take some decision that will make it possible to use between different participants of the market. So probably it's the task for next year. In 2023, we're planning to build the unmanned vehicle arena, so it can be used there for. It can be also used for training the pilots, external pilots. Yeah, let's set it into our panel discussion. That these main issues of the panel discussion, and it's the main task for next year as well. Thank you very much. May I ask a question? You use the word type. You use it as a name or as a part of process of certification? Thank you for the question. I would like to name that we are in the process of certification. We are at the end of this process. We took this step as a state company could produce certified unmanned aerial vehicles, because there were amendments to the Article 36 of Aviation Code. They were made a lot of amendments, the ones that were made in August. And as far as I know, concerning unmanned flying vehicles, they want to approve it, but it concerns heavyweight, so to say, flying vehicles. The word type, I used it intentionally because it was the training equipment is going through the certification with Rosaviation, and the program of training would be agreed with Rosaviation. I'm glad that it awoke so many professional questions, and it's a very important fact that I would like to highlight, that COMAP showed for the first time the aviation training equipment that were made for training external pilots. As you know, on majority of unmanned flying vehicles, there are two external pilots, one for flying, one for load. So it's the key condition of forming the human resource potential to have this boosting increase of unmanned flying vehicle sector. And today we have unique conditions because we have people who are in Kumirtau and who deal with training, professional training of pilots for the military machines, and we have the flying ground with everything necessary, with everything needed, and also we have Ufa Aviation State University. So we have all the conditions to form the staff potential, and it's an exclusive condition that only Bashkortostan has today. And it's a big advantage of forming this experimental legal regime in this competence. The next speaker is Maxim Chizhov. Yes. We need to have a microphone so that we can hear you. I'm dean of the faculty of the department. Today we have our team here in Agricultural University. We have licensed direction for the training of exploitation of unmanned flying vehicles, and today we have questions concerning training the personnel. Of course, it's a key factor, and the technologies are being developed. We have possibilities in Agrarian University. Yes, we have unmanned aviation system with certain tasks, but we are also ready to connect and to train our personnel with your technologies, with your companies, and it's a fantastic work. We work together with Sergei Georgievich. Our students work there, and they use the training equipment. But concerning the unmanned flying vehicles, we're a bit lagging behind. The number of people who studies on this department is about 48 people of the second-year student and second-year student. So we also suggest that we need to reinforce or enforce the personnel. Thank you for the addition. It's very important. And as we highlight the activity for next year in two directions, that we have two key directions. It's agriculture and forestry, right? So the reports on agriculture are coming ahead. Right now we're going to have this report. And if we have some time, we can continue the discussion on interaction between the agriculture and the unmanned flying vehicles. But if we have time, if not, then probably we'll ask the organizers to get time tomorrow, and we will gather together on this issue and speak about it, because we have all the potential for that, all the key points, okay? So we're moving forward to the report that will be dedicated to agriculture. So we said Maxim Chizhov, General Director of Agrimax Aero, and he will speak about experimental legal regime and food security or food safety. How do you hear me? How do you see me? Super, it's okay. So my report will be accompanied with the presentation. Do you see the presentation? Yes. Perfect. So the topic is application for unmanned flying systems for agriculture, for plant growing, and connection with the food security in general. We'll focus on the world experience and our Russian experience for the application spraying systems. You say agrodrone, but I would just clarify what we're talking about. So it's spraying drones that are used all over the world, widely used. We have more than 160,000 farmers in China using such equipment. And our development here is based on the experience that Japan and Southeast Asia has for our national farmer to make available to everyone who deals with plant growing these methods of preserving the harvest. So right now, this is available only with expensive unmanned equipment, and it will be possible to use drones for that, which will allow a differential application. A few words on about our company. We are developers and producers of complexes. So it's not just a spraying drone. It's absolutely autonomous complex that allows to apply on the field the microbiological treatments. We also do training, and we do research together with the producers of agrochemistry, of innovation treatments, and we do all kinds of services connected. So we processed a lot of territories last year in Bashkortostan. We work together with Moscow Aviation University or Institute as engineering support, and with our colleagues from Flight Drone, and with the producers of agricultural chemistry. So what are the key differences of this complex from drones that are used for observation, for delivery? So the differences are quite huge. First, we're trying to make cheaper. We are trying to make cheaper the treatment of 1 hectare, and design for the set price is made this way. Drones can work with wet soil. They can work at night. They can treat high cultures without distracting them, but at the same time, it's not really aviation equipment from the point of view of the physics of the process. If we will compare with agrochemistry works when the airplane flies on a very high altitude, the helicopter treats or makes the spraying from a higher height. So we make it from the height of 2 or 3 meters, like the ground-based sprayer. So from the point of view of physics of the process, despite the drone is in the air, it works on the same principle as modern grounded sprayers. and they use the same nozzles even. And what does it give? What does the usage of drones in agriculture gives? I made it visible on the display. I would like to draw your attention that the economic effect of application of such systems for 80 million hectares, it's $500 billion of rubles per year, because so it becomes available. All these agri-technologies become available, and they allow to increase the yield. So the yield can be achieved from a smaller territories and can be compared with the large agricultural companies. And it becomes available for small farmers as well. And so another effect is the decrease of the volume of pesticides in the soil. And thanks to the usage of these systems, mostly in nighttime, as it is done in Bashkortostan in summertime. So the harm for the ecology is reduced, even if we speak about the bees, for example. I'd like to draw your attention to the effect that is connected with creation of technological workplaces in agriculture. It's a mass application. Around thousands of people in Bashkortostan, when they move to this technology, will become experienced operators of robotized systems for spraying. It's another level and another effect for agriculture. And the feelings of people that were simply mechanics later on, used to be mechanics. And let's move to the obstacles, the barriers that we have, that we face. So working last year and this year, I highlighted 4 major obstacles. So it's hard to get the certificate for flight that all producers face today. And I'm very happy that helicopters of Russia with Bus 200, they're going through this procedure. And after them, I hope it will be easier to go. And the procedures will be simplified. And we expect that it will be possible to get the access for flight. There is a approach to the requirements for the personnel, and the experience here and abroad is absolutely different, because in other countries the drone sprays can be used by farmers, and in Russia it's only aviation personnel, so the requirements are absolutely different. So there is a specific requirement that concerns only the drone sprays. It's the procedure of registration of pesticides and agrochemicals. So all these treatment solutions can be used abroad freely. In Russia, it's not regulated. It doesn't say anything about the application of drone sprayers with already certified solutions on the territory of Russian Federation. There was no prohibition, but there was no direct admission. And the fourth, it's the price barrier, price obstacle, because it's an obstacle only in comparison with other countries. And it regulates due to the fact that abroad there's a huge number of subsidies for producers and for buyers of drone sprayers. In China, the subsidies is about 50% of price for local farmers. As I mentioned before, there is more than 160,000 farmers. And in India, adopted the decision to subsidize 80% of the price of drones produced in India for Indian farmers. And this program gave its fruit, the increase of production of drones in India. And how to eliminate these obstacles, these barriers? What do we expect from the experimental legal regime in Bashkortostan? I think we will have opportunity without investment of millions of dollars to each solution and chemical solution. We will have opportunity to use already certified solutions with the speed up to 25 kilometers per hour and the height of 6 meters. So it's the same as it was used for the land equipment when these solutions were registered. Access to the exploitation connected with risk. We don't fly over some big cities. We fly only over the field at the height of 3 meters. So concerning the risks, there are no any accidents with drone sprayers in the world, because even any kind of emergency situation doesn't lead to accident, because the maximum damage, it's 2 or 3 corns bent or damaged a bit. And the fourth, it's the training of personnel. And in order to make this market a mass market, we need support from the government, from state leasing companies, or the government of the Republic concerning the programs of subsidies for rendering drones on beneficial conditions in the coming time period. What concerns the training that Alexey Ivanovich touched and Vladimir Vladimirovich touched already, I can say that this year in December, one of our complexes was shipped to the training center. We created a software for training, or a program for training of universal land equipment for transport drone that do the check of power lines or oil and gas sector, the application of drones in agriculture. So it's impossible. Those who have seen how drone sprayers work, they will understand it. It's obvious. So the training here is done directly on the equipment, like it's made on tractors or other equipment used in agriculture. So the drone sprayer and the work with it, and the work with pesticides and agrochemicals can be trained on the complexes that are created. And the training version that we ship to the training centers. And what we also would like in the resolution parts, it's a support from the Republic in the frame of where that starts in the Republic of Bashkortostan concerning the consolidation of the demand, because even having around 10 or 50,000 hectares request for the treatment, it's not too much. For us, for the company that produces drones and renders services, the target volume for the Republic of Bashkortostan for next season is around 200,000 hectares of treatment. So if we consolidate this request, we will be able to render very interesting conditions to agricultural producers in terms of price terms and support and service support on the territory of the Republic. And it's very important, taking into consideration that Republic has more than several millions of hectares for treatment. The treatment is done 3 times a year in Bashkortostan climatic zone. So around 200,000 hectares is not too big. It was around 10,000 last season. We treated it only with one, I repeat it, with one drone. So to move to the mass application, we need 200,000 hectares from different agricultural producers to accumulate it, to gather it, so to make the training work, the explanation work, to tell about new technologies to farmers, and to get support that this order would be formed. I'm ready to answer your questions.
Thank you very much. Even if we went a bit out of minutes, I see that everyone was involved into your presentation because it provides a lot of information. And I thought of the question, you were talking about the volume of the market, assessing the market. You didn't show the pricing numbers right now, even if you have them in your business plan. Could you please reveal them? What are the prices to cover 1 hectare of land? As you said that you evaluated in hectares, what about the price for the service of treatment the territory with special chemicals on 1 hectare? Of course, currently the market what we have is 1,350 rubles per 1 hectare. In order to reduce the price, of course, we understand that the price is effective just because, as I understand, and I would like to present or reveal the information, we can, of course, cover 1 hectare in 350 rubles, but with the help of other equipment, other ways. But in order to preserve the harvest up to 20%, it makes it more valuable, more profitable to use drones. From August to September, we have lines of customers, and we only recently finished the treatment of corn. Even 2 days ago, they have finished harvesting, and before they had made the treatment of the territory by chemicals. So I could say that it's quite popular because we have the increase in preserving of harvest due to the quality of treatment. Moreover, excuse me, I need to add, if the order would be more significant, the price of service could be reduced 2 times on the territory of Bashkortostan. Right now, we formed the market because we have only several orders, but it will make it consolidating. If we consolidate it, it could be significantly reduced, at least 2 times. I believe there would be 850 rubles per hectare in Bashkortostan. We can write it right now that if we have the price for 1,350 right now, but we could reduce the price up to 850 if we consolidate the order. I saw the agricultural drones in Belarus, heard a lot about them, and I also heard the story about them, that while harvesting linen, I heard that they use drone quite often. I cannot understand right now, within the control, within the monitoring of the process, several times. I cannot understand what to do for 22, 28 times after that. Good afternoon, distinguished colleagues and my colleague on the screen. I'm so glad to be here in Bashkortostan with our drones, with our projects, with our intention to develop that cooperation. I would like to support my colleague and at the same time my opponent, because our company is the resident of the Republic of Belarus. Sorry. Of course, it's not the first time when we come here to Republic of Bashkortostan, and we are two RBs, because we are the Republic of Belarus and you're the Republic of Bashkortostan. We are ready to share the technologies, to transfer our experience. You are quite young, and we are ready to help you. You have already studied a lot in this sphere, but you decided to dedicate your life mostly to agricultural drones. I've heard about the agricultural drones which cover and spray the fields. For us, we use it as aviation model, not an aviation craft or aviation vehicle. That's why we need no special documentation to use it. We have our special software, and our developers, our technical specialists made it simpler for the exploitation on the field. We have just bottom start, bottom stop. You need no special training for it. You need only 2 days in order to prepare it, especially if you know what is it agriculture. It's not about some specialized knowledges in this industry. You can just place the drone, you give the remote controller to the farmer or any other specialist. They push the button start and it flies. Could you please tell what's the price for a hectare in your republic? As for our republic, I could truly say that I support the idea of my colleague, because as for services from our enterprise on the fields of the Republic of Belarus, they are quite similar to yours. But you have Belarus currency. If we count it in our currency, and you're quite pedantic, you know, to understand, I could say we have the exchange rate of 30 rubles. So if we have a reduction for 2 times, maybe we could also have a cooperational project and reduce our expenditures and your expenditures too. So, Maxim Sergeyevich, you already have an offer for your company. I'm very glad to have an opportunity to talk more about this. If you'll visit Moscow, we would be glad to see you. We also visit Belarus and Minsk quite often. So we invite you too. We're ready to share the experience and to train you. I think for agricultural university it would be also quite profitable. We need to make ties and we'll present you our drones too. Maybe tomorrow we'll have a detailed discussion of this topic, which we want to build up right now. If we see that it's quite profitable and we could even reduce expenditures, we need to discuss it. You know, we've flown over Bashkortostan. We also showed the way how we are working on the fields here, and I see the prospects, I see the productivity which we could reach, so we have something to discuss. Thank you very much. Thank you too. I think that the topic of agriculture is quite vital from the point of view of our discussion. The next representative, the next speaker is Sergei Minigolo. You have already presented your idea, your vision. Could you please share it in details. Good afternoon, distinguished colleagues. I am a CEO of Pervushino complex. We have all the headquarters in Moscow, but the rest of representatives here are here. The story of unmanned vehicles started in the year of 2015, and right that time, in accordance with the order of our president, we have changed the name of our company. So why we have decided to do this? As Nikita told previously, the main advantage is the possibility to have failures and to fall, because we cannot do it as I represent a certified training center. This is our certificate. We prepare real pilots, real aircraft for those who truly would like to become a pilot. Of course, spraying and shipment is quite interesting, but right now air has a lot of pros. So I would like to keep you to the ground from the point of view of perspectives. We are interested in development of unmanned technologies, and I believe that there are a lot of things which we need to discuss further and implement on the territory of Bashkortostan to reach success. That's why I think I'd like to ask for help for our training center right now, because we are too theoretized, even more specified than unmanned technologies, and for us it's very difficult to be involved into experimental things. The whole system of safety of flights is on the shoulders of real pilot. No difference whether you have one passenger or more. Of course, it's more important, it's more valuable. So that's the reason why we are mostly targeted on it. So the safety of flights, it's about the exploitation of an aircraft when you can control it fully. It's the whole complex, I could say. It should be satisfactory and you should control everything. Of course, when you provide the safety of flight, it's not about 100% of safety, but you should try to make it best. Right now, it's very comfortable to register the unmanned technologies. I remember how difficult it was in the beginning. There were a lot of organizations involved into it. Roscosmos already. State cooperations on this topic. Igor Moisenko was the previous head. Also Oleg Bicharov, Ministry of Industry. It was kind of fashionable story, and right now it becomes something, some kind of future, real future. When I was in Belarus, I saw that aviation model. I need to explain why we cannot make it as an aviation model. We have a vast territory, we have a vast country. That's why we need to have an external pilot, which works as aviation personnel. What's the difference between just personnel and specialist? Personnel is somebody who provides safety of flight. And when you prepare the aircraft, you become the personnel, so you take the responsibility. So this responsibility is something which we would like to work on further. I'm a professional teacher for 10 years already. We need to promote it. So I understand it clearly. So these movements for our country are of a great perspective and any strategy what would be promoted within the government of the Republic would reach success. As for external pilots, they also presented by the aviation personnel. And I know that the rule 147 would be changed recently, and also number 128. Right now they have a new category, it's external pilot. And I would like to advise to the Center of Strategical Developments one thing. Our country is quite vast. I would like all the people to watch at the map of the world. We have a lot of entities, so we have a lot of space. I'd like to notify we have a lot of space for everyone. That's why we need to concentrate on training the external pilots in all the institutions for all the country. For example, to consolidate all the participants who would like to be involved into this issue, because the uniqueness of our region, it's not only about experiments, but also the Federation of Aviation. We have headquarters here. We have quite a good aviation training centers. We have prepared teachers, we have prepared classrooms, so there are a lot of opportunities. And I'd like to mention that air is the bilateral road. It's quite different level. If you can talk to developers, of course models are quite nice, but when you talk about the responsibility and personal, you have no friends. It's like all the pilots say, when you have the fourth turn, there are no friends. Excuse me, Sergey, you have only 1 minute. Okay, I'll meet the deadline. So the main issue is we have our personal aircraft zone, 116 hectares. We have different conferences conducted there. Right now, the question of development of the systems of bilateral detection, navigation, if you would be of a great question. I think that we right now should work on the fact that pilots should see unmanned aircrafts. So we need to work on our minds, because we are living creatures, and our pilots are also living creatures, real pilots. We are here to assist you, because our main strategy and my major task is to make real people fly, and only after that the vehicle. That's the way how we should conduct our work for them. Thank you very much. What I would like to notify that all the speeches at present, they have some special energy. Of course, I understand the wish to add more professionals and the industry. Of course, I would like to tell that a lot of people who are out of aviation try to fly, and the thesis which was announced before, should we fly or not if the height is only 3 meters? Of course, we should understand what we are doing, because it's also a flying vehicle. I also wanted to have a discussion with you all, but we have no time. We're not talking about being opponents. We need to consolidate the market to be friends. We have a lot of entities right now, but the fact is we haven't got a lot of demand. Some of the entities of the Russian Federation, they don't know what is it. They don't know what is it, unmanned vehicles. Of course, we should work on demand and work on consolidation. So if you give us 200,000 hectares, we will reduce the price. What else we need to tell? Who can tell us right now that they are ready for this order? among authorities? Of course, no one. That's the way how they decide to promote this question. And they ask to consolidate all the services for this. That's why we cannot just order the service without understanding the price, the way, and covering expenditures, even if we'll have 2 years without any harvest. And after that, we'll expect it. Of course, we still have a lot of casualties in the sphere, and it's easy to talk about the things which we could do. Only if we have the full understanding of the service. Excuse me, we are out of time right now. And I must add, Sergei Georgievich attended our enterprise. We have other types of vehicles concerning the agricultural sector. So we also can use our model for agriculture, and we could also make it unmanned. It's just an idea for Dmitry. Maybe in experimental way to try it. Yes, you have already visited us. Maybe it should be a remark for experimental legal regime. We have the training program for care plants and the opportunities of using them in agriculture. Thank you very much. We have another speech for today, and our colleagues Sergei Grigorievich Lobry wanted to ask, but right now we have another representative to take the floor from St. Petersburg University, Sergei. I hope that we meet the minutes. If we have our speaker right now. Good afternoon, distinguished colleagues. Yes, we can hear you. You can start. I wanted to show my presentation, but I think that we haven't got enough time. Everyone knows our university, St. Petersburg State University, which started as a college academy of state aviation, and right now it's the University of State Aviation. And we are training professional pilots and technical personnel of radio and technical support of flights. We took part in the development of different programs of middle education, higher education, and vocational educational programs. Now a lot of people are arguing about the professional standards, about the external pilots and flying standards, even the lowering of the standards, qualification standards from 5 to 4th level were held, but we don't want to agree with it. It was supported with the fact that they have no time to prepare qualified personnel because they need to wait for 4 or 5 years. But I'd like to say that we need no time for it. We have no time for it. We don't want to wait because we have professional training programs. We have professional pilots who are working in agriculture right now for shooting the territory and land. We have a lot of other staff who are working right now, and we have a special vocational training program for 146 hours, and pilots could also try it, could also conclude it. We could ask the personnel who is already working right now, but they have no great volume of shipment. We could take them for a retraining program too, for 146 hours. they would become professionals. They would become professional external pilots. We could also call for technical personnel to undertake our program too. Most arguments are connected with the professional standard. Those who are involved into the sphere of education and also development, they tell one thing. For those who are representing business, they tell the other. They tell that they need no preparation at all, no training, just because most of the time we have no wind and sunny weather. So the thing is just to fulfill a task. That's the crucial point to discuss because we have argument on this topic. It's all about that 30 kilogram. I usually tell there's no difference if there are 30 kilogram or 50 kilogram. If they crash into the house, it would be significant. That's why, as I believe, they should be noted too. In our educational system, a lot of people also think that they have no significance. As for our professional standards and experimental legal regime is intended on finding advantages and disadvantages of our training program. Right now we have the first group of professional pilots which were involved into retraining program, and also traffic superintendents. We wanted, in the framework of this cluster, to test the training program.
And once again, right now we have a lack for training equipment, and we are agreeing with you for heavy equipment, and of course we need to have this simulator training that is practically absent today, that is just starting. Yeah, we noticed that we need the simulator, the training equipment that must be present, that must be engaged, and yes, this is a very important question of paramount importance, because they test all the questions of different emergency situations that can happen during the work of aviation personnel. If we make it for lower than 30 kilograms, if they will supply us the equipment, this is ground station or land station of control, and the heavier one is your development. Can I ask you a question concerning the simulators, the training equipment? What is your position as a training establishment when we need to pose the question of unification of these simulators that would be united or unified, so that the pilots for different kinds of unmanned vehicles can be trained? It's actual today. We need to understand that any educational establishment cannot buy the simulators of all unmanned flying vehicle systems that exist here in China, in Belarus, and I think it's not necessary. The system can be unified even for heavy unmanned flying vehicles that takes more than 30 kilograms. Why do we need simulator training equipment system? It meant to work out some non-standard situation, the meteo conditions, emergency brakes or something. So all non-standard situations. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Sorry for speeding you up because we are lacking the time. Yeah, I know. That's why I didn't switch on my presentation, because we don't have a lot of time, and we need to speak more about the actual issues, but not to present. Yeah, you're speaking my words, really. Yeah, thank you a lot for your report. We need to sum up. I believe we have a very interesting discussion, very live discussion. We have different experts open their secrets and details. First of all, I would like to thank everyone for the participation in our meeting. I apologize on behalf of Davletov, because right now he's meeting with the head of the Republic. But he could organize it. Thank you for the team that helped and assisted us today. What concerns the experimental regime, our center was founded not long ago, and the first task that we had is the formation of the industry cluster of unmanned flying vehicles in the Republic of Bashkortostan. And Nikita Igorevich mentioned that today many regions prohibit exploitation. So we have an order in Krasnodar region, but it's a kind of a trend. But we're moving in the opposite direction, and we say you can fly in our republic. We have trainer, we have our experimental legal regime. What's the status today? All the governmental bodies, we have the program and program document are agreed, and we expect the issue and experimental legal regime going into force next year. Today we put a stop for start. It will work only for 3 years. We need to start flying, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we can use Bus 200. And answering the question, what's the difference of our regime? Yeah, we need a lot in different regions. There are different nuances and differences. But the Republic of Bashkortostan has got a lot of linear objects as the ducting for gas, oil. We have a lot of forestry and a lot of fields. So basically, we have a small Russia here, and we can find some normative solutions that we have in the field of unmanned aviation. And 3 years, it seems like a large term, but it will move fast, because we need time to start to launch production and to use it and to show the efficiency to the customer and the necessity of applications, to show it that this is the future. The 3 years will run fast. And today we make a start, and hopefully we will meet together in 3 years and discuss the results of this experimental legal regime. Thank you very much, dear colleagues. If you have a desire to say something, please take the floor. If you have all the answers to the questions, so I suggest we leave all further discussions over a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. Thank you for participation. Oh, yes, yeah, here you go. Good morning, colleagues. Cosmic Investment Valley. We believe that this regime will be a very good thing if you would manage to combine in Bashkortostan unmanned flying objects and light aviation. Our colleague from Flight Drone said that today implementing technologies, you get the very fast certificates for flying for unmanned flying objects, and combination of this can show the workforce of the system and to implement this legal regime in all the territory of Russian Federation, because our valley has got representatives all over Russia. It will be an indicator and main stage for the implementation of experimental legal regime all over the place. Yes, we were speaking about the system of SPPI, and we are constantly talking with Nikita about it and discuss it. Because combining, it's a kind of a crossbreeding of the bulldog with a unicorn. So everyone must be in his field, but intercooperation is very important.
До 2026 года разработать какой-нибудь такой компактный ответчик, чтобы...
So that we need the system of mutual cooperation so that the unmanned flying objects and light aviation could see each other. So, but the message is right, and the legal regime in your well, you can hold us, as advisors, because we will give you an opinion about what is the air. So thank everyone for the participation. Thank you once again for additions. So I think we have something to discuss over a cup of tea. So have a nice International Business Week in the far, and hopefully we will continue this conversation. And thank you very much. Thank you.